Okay, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the December community call. Let's go ahead and advance the slides, and we'll go ahead and get started. Looking at the list of attendees, it is so good for me to see some familiar faces and partners who I've worked with for so long. For those of you who haven't seen my name before or we haven't worked together, my name's Craig Kreskis, and I've been an active member of the Dynamics or the business applications community since the beginning, since Microsoft got into the space with ERP and CRM. Yet I'm somewhat new to the role of hosting these community calls, but there's a new team that has been responsible for volunteering. And so just kind of set expectations for the call. I want to do some quick introductions, some logistics, and I wanted to ask you a question about how these calls go. And then we've got a great presentation from Greg, who's going to talk about bots, and then I'll wrap it up with some closing remarks. So next, what I just want to do real quick on the next slide, 1,269, you know what that is? That is the number of community members, you, who are part of our Yammer group. And I know as many of you know, Barb and Karen Renato, they've traditionally led these calls with great success and also incredible expert resources to share with you. This year, we have, again, a number of different team members to bring in new topics, ideas, to the community. And again, with over 1,269 team members, we want to make sure we keep you excited. If you can click the next slide. 76% is a statistic I saw recently on a presentation about audience members who were asked, when I'm on the receiving end of a web demo and a presentation, that 76% of the people said it's very difficult to avoid multitasking during web demos. 49% said it was extremely difficult to interact with the presenter real time, and 44% said they couldn't really connect with the presenter and what they were doing. So with that in mind, I was trying to think about, again, as you all have been involved with this community for so long, if I could share with you kind of what it is that we're trying to produce for you in the next couple of months. And I don't see that poll question come up, so I'll have to go ahead and ask it a little bit later. But I would love to get feedback from the community as we're developing our editorial content for the next 6 months. What it is that you'd like to see so that we help kind of keep you engaged and reduce the multitasking that happens traditionally on calls. So with that, I know if for me, as I'm an audience member just like you, I came to see a webcast and I want to see it. So without any further ado, I'm going to pass it over to our resident expert and talk about bots. I know so much I've seen the last few weeks has been more around the kind of the demos. And Greg, what he's going to do is kind of guide us through how you can actually deploy or create your own bot. So with that, Greg, you've got the floor.
Yeah. Thank you, Craig. I'm really looking forward to this conversation, guys. This is the first community call I've been a part of. And obviously, we're focusing on the bot and AI aspect of Dynamics 365 and how you can extend the product using technologies like that. So to give a little bit of background about myself, I'm a part of the new One Commercial Partner team. I'm a software engineer based out of San Francisco, and I've been with Microsoft for going on almost 3 years now, and I've spent a lot of time working with mobile applications, the Azure Cloud, cognitive services. And this year, I've sort of been slotted in to take all that expertise and figure out ways for us to reinvent the Dynamics 365 platform with that and teach our partners as well. I've had a lot of experience on the evangelism side and speaking with community, so I feel right at home sharing this sort of information on call in a platform like this. To talk about the sort of timeline and the goals of, or my personal goals of this call, I've outlined 3 specific sections of this presentation. We're obviously going to talk about the value of our partnership model and the Dynamics platform. But as Craig mentioned, we're going to take a little bit of a different approach and I'm going to talk about bots in general, the interface trends, and sort of why it's important to be aware of that as a technology for you all to take advantage of, and the resources that Microsoft provides for partners like you all in the community to get started and actually start building applications based on bots. So with that, let's spend a little bit of time talking about Dynamics 365 as it relates to our One Commercial Partner team. I'm relatively new to the team. I came from an Azure background, did some mobile app dev as well, but I really believe that Dynamics represents a pretty powerful collection of business applications when it comes to our whole digital transformation journey. It's not, an application that's ever complete initially, but it's really over time and through calls like this and interactions and partnerships with our community and our partners that we start to really build out the intelligence and modern experience of the platform that we bring to the enterprise. Excuse me. The One Commercial Partner model itself is designed so that our engagements are focused on sort of calls like this and interactions like this, where we show you the value of our platform and also spend a lot of time sharing hand in hand the tools that we use to build on top of it, and work hand in hand with you all to use those tools to build out your practices on Dynamics. So moving through that, let's go right into the main topic. When it comes to bot applications, there's some clear value because of the disruption that you'll obviously see on this slide. The bot applications themselves have been brought to various industries in many different markets. You'll see communication, finance, social, and many of these apps I've used myself, and I'm sure a lot of you guys on call have used as well. I was using Uber Eats just last night in preparation for today. But if you think back to 2007, and even as late as 2009 and 2010, there was another disruptive trend that also happened even before bots, and that was mobile. You saw examples across almost every industry and sometimes entire industries that were completely unaware of the opportunities in the mobile platform and the risks that mobile posed to their businesses. Some industries and businesses were kind of slow to adopt and react to the mobile trend, and as a result, unfortunately, some of those industries were disrupted and lost significant market share to mobile-first startups and people that had the first mover advantage on new technologies like this. And I believe that we're seeing that trend with bots as well. So it's important to keep abreast on it and look at some of the numbers behind that. So with customer service specifically, in terms of the bot's value, and in terms of Dynamics 365 value as well, since our customer service solution is one of our major pieces in the Dynamics platform. This is where the customer service side is where we're seeing a huge shift towards in bot applications. It's forecasted that by 2020, just 3 years from now, by the way, 85% of customer engagement interactions will be managed without humans, and in large part because people want responses and support more and more quickly, and really human resources just can't do that. And it's also not as cost effective, and it's not as easy to scale those sort of human resources compared to a bot or a technical resource that is much more easier to scale, less cost to manage. And of course, you'll see on the slide some other statistics outside of the 2020 prediction around social engagement, time value, MAU in social media, and other things like that. This is a great one. So, talked about value bots, talked about Dynamics 365. What does a bot application actually look like? This is not a traditional platform where you would see a bot application, but it's one that our bot framework and other tools that I'm going to talk about later allow you to deploy bots to. So this is just Bing search, our search engine, but with our tools you have the ability to build bot apps on top of Bing, And this is just a simple example where the company Stofers has actually used a bot application to improve their customer interactions when it comes to Thanksgiving recipes. I thought it was a really cool example, and I was actually talking with Craig a few weeks back about like the value here, and it just blew my mind, like how cool a scenario this was.
Yeah, Greg, this is amazing, right? I would just interject, right? Everything we've seen so far in these demos that integrate bots and Dynamics 365 has truly been around that customer engagement and the customer service. But think about how influential something like this can be. And so, again, part of these calls, these community calls, are really to get you thinking beyond the traditional and beyond the things that you see today,
Exactly.
but providing you guys examples that you could take back to your customer base and help them drive their business forward. So great example, Greg.
Mm-hmm. And to dive, or to step back a little bit and go into the world that we're all familiar with Dynamics 365, these same tools that I'm going to talk about, obviously you can use to build bots on top of Dynamics as well. And sticking with the theme of customer service, one of our partners has done just that. CafeX is a great example of a partner that has used our bot technologies to enhance their customer service experience. So they've created a bot experience on top of Dynamics 365, as you'll see on the screenshot here. And their solution is enriched by the customer service data that Dynamics provides out of the box, from support case scenarios, and other metadata that you'll see here on screen. But the value and the key point in the slide is by CafeX taking the time to invest in their developer tools and building out this bot, they allowed for a more integrated experience than what was provided out of the box for our customer service solution. And they gave their support agents more effective tools to do their job, and the most important metric, greater customer satisfaction overall as a result of implementing bots into the Dynamics platform. And, it's just a really good example, as I said before, but the key components here that I'll make sure to call out on the right-hand side is where I'll note the actual bot application is deployed. You'll see various chat options, and the ability to hide, view, uninstall, look at agent status, and things like that. So just wanted to call out some of the components of the UI there. But moving on, I want to start getting into what is going on behind the scenes and how this value is even possible for bot applications. So from a Microsoft standpoint, this is how we're starting to collectively think about bots. They're a gateway to AI. I know AI is another trend that we're seeing in the industry, but it directly relates to bots. But now that you've learned a little bit more about my team and the value of these bot scenarios, some of the technical principles behind bots, we really want to emphasize that we're fortunate enough to provide this technology to you all, because the whole meaning behind this message of bots being a gateway to AI is we've spent literally 25 years investing into this bot and AI research, and our goal really is to make these sort of applications more accessible to partners like yourself and developers out in the community, so that they can build applications, for Dynamics and above and beyond. This particular example that you saw on screen, I went through briefly, is again another bot, but this one is specific to case management and knowledge articles. So again, another application for bots. So to go a bit more into the Microsoft Bot AI story, I wanted to finish off today's call talking about the tools and how you guys can get started with actually building out experiences like we saw with our customer CafeX and Dynamics 365. But before getting into that, I want to lay out a few terms and fundamentals. So our Microsoft bot technologies are generally described in the context of these four terms here: an agent, like Cortana or the CafeX customer service bot; an application that this agent is built upon. Dynamics 365 is a good example of that, as well as two other concepts that I haven't talked about yet. And those really are the underlying components of these bot technologies. And these concepts are, first, services. They help you build your bot, like the Microsoft Bot Framework, like some of our cognitive services that I'm going to talk about that infuse AI into your bots to make more intelligent conversations. And of course, infrastructure that powers the conversation and provides, things like huge data sets to hold, your customer information and bot knowledge. And, you can think of some internal databases or some cloud solution like Azure. When all these components come together and you have a good understanding of it and you use our tools and technologies, you come up with an architecture like this. And this, fair to say, could be similar to the architecture that CafeX used to develop their bot. It also uses, again, the four terms that I called out in the previous slide. You've got, your customer and various applications on the left-hand side, you'll see. The customer app is built on top of Dynamics 365. An agent in the form of the bot that the user holds their conversation with is also called out here as well. They're on the right-hand side, highlighted in red. And those agents tap into various services. You got spell checking, text analytics, translation, sentiment, so that you can determine customer satisfaction, all outlined in the top there. And obviously infrastructure, one of the key pieces. Data, web services, knowledge sources as well. That's key to point out. We're obviously promoting our technologies, the Dynamics platform, but you saw with the example in the bot deployed to Bing Search, we're able to integrate further beyond just Dynamics itself. So you can bring in third-party data sources. You can tie into Salesforce. You can tie into other customer graphs. The platform itself is meant to be extensible and flexible to suit your needs. And security as well, I'll call out. So in the infrastructure piece at the bottom, you'll see the data and knowledge sources that I called out, but you'll also see some cloud components. Authentication is a piece there, and we take security very seriously, and you have the ability to add different layers of security to your bot applications as well. So with that example architecture in mind, let's go back into the world of Dynamics 365. And I've kind of teed this up to say that I'm in this call, I'm thinking about Dynamics as a application platform. And this is a really great way of thinking about the platform from that standpoint. So with that in mind, there are two roles that you'll see on screen that work together and have the capability to make these different levels of bot integration possible. And as you move up the arrow of effort, you'll see first an option for out-of-the-box Dynamics apps that a lot of you all are familiar with, like Dynamics 365 for customer service, sales, and other services like that. But there's also installable third-party solutions that customers like CafeX and like you can create to enrich the platform. That all fits at that bottom layer. As you move up a bit further, there are role and task focused apps that allow for the creation of custom business process flow. There's less code needed at that stage to add value. There may be some in some cases. This is where a service that I'm going to talk about very soon, like Q&A Maker, would sit. And then as you move even further towards the top, as high as you can go, you'll see some recognizable logos, Visual Studio, and different development tools. But these are where the advanced customizations sit. And they require much more code needed to add value. But at that level, the value that's provided is much more and further beyond what you would get out of a role and task focus app. Much more of what you would get out of a third-party solution that you would install from AppSource or some other source like that. It's a customization that you all would build yourself, and it uses some of our engineering tools to add a level of business value and differentiation that we really try and empower our partners to go and create for our platform. So that's the extensibility model for Dynamics. Let's start talking about some tools. Q&A Maker is sitting in the roles and tasks focus apps piece of this pillar. So closer towards the top. Not quite there yet, but it still provides a good deal of value. And I'd say if there's anyone out there new to bot development, because this is one of the first places that I started, this is a really good service to take advantage of and use if you want to make some quick bot applications and do a small POC and see what value the bot services that we have provides. I'll also note that it's in preview, so take note of that. I'm going to show you some technologies that are out of preview later on. But Q&A Maker, very straightforward and simple to get started. It ties into knowledge bases based on frequently asked questions, so FAQ websites, and literally how you create a bot with Q&A Maker is you, within seconds, just grab the URL for your FAQ website, copy and paste it into the Q&A Maker service, and you have a bot just like that. And the screenshot obviously proves that. I took the Azure support website, so one of our own internal websites, copy and pasted it into the Q&A Maker service. And you'll see my conversation on the right-hand side was created and handled for me just by simply copy and pasting that URL. The target audience for this tool is power users. Software engineers could take advantage of this too. But again, the messaging I want to get across here is if you want to get started with a bot quickly, this is a great place to do that. And it's a very common scenario. A lot of companies have FAQ websites, and when it comes to self-service and trying to find faster ways for you to optimize your customer service solutions, this is a great place to start with that. Q&A Maker service is pretty lightweight. It's easy to get started. But when it comes to advanced customizations, the bot framework is where I want to point you all to do things like that. So what's the bot framework? It's pretty much a set of SDKs that we provided to make development of these advanced and intelligent bots a bit easier and faster, most importantly. With the framework, you can build bots on top of Dynamics, as you saw, but there are other channels as well. We showcase Bing. If you want to put your bot on Skype, deploy it to LinkedIn, Office, you can do that too. And I'll also note that some components of the framework were used by CafeX to create their bot. At the surface, the bot framework, as I mentioned, is just a set of SDKs. To go specifically into what those SDKs look like, there is a .NET SDK, so you can write some C# code to create your bot. There's JavaScript as well, so if you want to use JavaScript, you can do that too. Two very common languages used for Dynamics when it comes to extensibility. But if you have a team that is used to another language like Java, you can do that too. The bot framework exposes itself over REST calls, so if you want to create highly intelligent bot applications, then you can go that route to use Java or any other language. I guess to talk about key components that come with this framework that are seen in many customer service bot solutions. There are reusable dialogues, there's built-in prompts, there's form flows, and all that really means that you have more scalable conversations and allows you to build these conversations a lot faster. There are tons of UI elements that you can add onto your conversations, both on the bot framework as well. So videos, images, support for calling. So you can think of a Skype scenario where directly from your bot you can go into a call center. There's also offline and online chat support as well. So at the service, that's what this can provide. And when it comes to intelligence, our Microsoft Cognitive Services directly relates to our bot framework, so always think of those two things being almost one and the same. Where the bot framework was used mainly to help you build conversations and provide a way for you to deploy those bots to different platforms, notably Dynamics, but also Bing and others that we support. Our Cognitive Services is a component of that where intelligence is able to be added based on all of our years of AI research that I mentioned. There's a number of APIs that we've put out into the community that allow you all to add these levels of intelligence to your bots. On screen, you're obviously going to see a few. There's vision, which may not necessarily be applicable in a bot scenario, but you can think of barcode scanning, maybe some image processing on customer support cases. Maybe they've uploaded an image. We have APIs that allow you to analyze that. There's speech. If you want to talk to your bot application instead of typing, we have APIs that support and create really good speech experiences. There's language, so you do some processing of text, spell check, language analytics. I think sentiment when it comes to customer service is where a lot of the core value comes, and with our language and the processing technology there, you're able to pull out those values and have data points and can create dashboards on sentiment and customer service value. There's knowledge bases, so tons of knowledge articles that we've made available through this set of APIs, so from all across the web to the more academic side. And you can even bring in your own data too, if you wanted to add your own knowledge articles to our cognitive services. And then there's search, so you can tap into web, pages, images, videos, Bing APIs, all that. Then it all comes back to this. There are a ton of different components that I talked about today. Q&A maker, bot framework, trends in bots, different levels of extensibility when it comes to dynamics, sample architectures that I briefly displayed on screen. But all those different concepts and tools work together to create experiences like this. And I encourage everybody to test out and try the solution themselves. If you have a Dynamics demo tenant or your own personal tenant, you can install the solution from AppSource. But again, CafeX was able to create this amazing customer service experience because they took advantage of all the tools that I talked about today and extended the platform with our bot framework and our cognitive services APIs to bring really bots and AI to Dynamics. And with this call, that's what I want to empower you all to do. You can use these same tools. These are available to anyone, and you can build experiences like this or differentiated experiences that take advantage of our technologies as well. How are you going to build it? These are the 3 steps that you need to do that. I'm going to write a blog post in the future in our community pages that go in detail on these steps, but plain and simple, follow these 3 steps and you can create a simple basic bot interaction on top of your Dynamics organization. And if you want, deployable to other customers and organizations as well. That again, if you don't have a Dynamics org, you get a trial tenant, 30 days for free there. There's an intro to the bot framework and a sample web chat bot that's made available and open source to everyone. And when it comes to web development for Dynamics 365, as I mentioned, the bot framework supports JavaScript, so there's some links to the XRM model and how to manage web resources at various levels to bring your bots on top of Dynamics and deploy them there. Now I wanted to open up the floor to Q&A.
Great job, Greg. Thanks so much for sharing your knowledge and expertise on how to get started. So everybody that's on the call, as you know, there's the Q&A panel. So if you have questions for Greg, submit them here. We've got access to that console, and we can read them off. So if you got something simple as, hey, what do I really need to get started? How much time does it take to create a bot, or anything else? I thought, Greg, you gave some great examples and illustrations of what you can do beyond just the customer service agent. So
exactly.
Yeah, so again, if anyone's out there, if you have any questions at all, you want to submit them. I don't see anything in the Q&A panel right now. So there's one in here from Daniel. It says, can we get the Skype contacts to drop down as we don't see the lower right information? I don't know if that's relative to the call or if that's related to the bots.
Oh, I see. So our names in the Skype window, is that what?
Yeah, Daniel, can you rephrase that for us? Maybe resubmit the question in a little more detail. Okay. Who else? Anyone else have questions around the content and what we just delivered today? Okay. I'm going to try again. I can't seem to invoke the polling question. Can you guys see the polling question at all? Okay, so I asked the question to the poll, and if you guys can see that, great. It looks like, again, the question is what topics listed below are you most interested in? Again, as part of the team, we're responsible for delivering these technical community calls. Just wanted to get a sense of what you'd like to see and take advantage of the time that we spend as a community. So great, some people are putting in the results, so thank you so much. There's you want to understand more about the new offering around Microsoft 365, right, formerly the EMS, some best practices around engagement. Do we want to do some demos, strategy around kind of what's the business edition going to be like, some Azure consumption and demo tips. So thanks so all for that submission. If there are, again, I just put together 6 questions, but however, if there are other topics that you want to see, please use the Yammer community site. I think, again, we have 1,269 members, which is extremely valuable, but if you want to go ahead and post your submissions to what we want, there's a number of us that are monitoring the Yammer page quite a bit. So let's see what we have here. So yeah, it was during the presentation. And then Nelson's asking if we can access the recording of the sessions. Yes, I believe we will post those. Usually it takes about 24, 48 hours, Nelson. And then you'll see something in the Yammer community page. So, and then, yeah, so the question from Daniel is again around what you had in the presentation, Greg. Maybe we could circle back, but he was asking if we can get the Skype contacts to drop down as we can't see the lower right information.
I see.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Was there a particular slide where you wanted to see more information on? Because I can go back there and call it out specifically. I see what you mean about the Skype contacts dropping down. It looks like there's a window on top of some of the links we have on screen. Is that right? So let them type the feedback in.
Yeah. We'll get that. And then I got a question here posed from Shelley. Greg, Shelley's asking, what is the suggested way to integrate the bot into mobile applications?
That's a good question. So there are a few different routes. I'd say it'd be from an audience standpoint. If I was thinking about it, I would think about the greatest reach that you have. So, we have our Dynamics 365 mobile applications. We have an entire suite there. So first I would say, think about how you could use some of our web resource or web-related bot technologies to first deploy a bot onto your organization. And then from there, our Dynamics mobile apps pull directly from that information. So as soon as you deploy a bot to the web, that's viewable in any mobile app that you have for Dynamics 365 on iOS and Android. So it's scalable and deployable across platforms there. But as I mentioned, if you want to extend beyond Dynamics but still add the level of Dynamics value, you have the ability to tie your bot into mobile apps like Facebook Messenger or Skype. So there are a few different routes where you can start. But anyway, to reiterate for a recommended route, I'd say first, follow these 3 steps that I'm going to put on screen again. Understand how to build a bot in your Dynamics organization and deploy it as a web resource. And then from there, download any of the Dynamics mobile apps, and your bot is there.
Awesome.
Sound good? Sound good? Makes sense?
Yep. I've seen a bunch of questions from many of you on access to the Yammer site or copy of the slides and the recording. All that will be available for us. I don't recall how long it takes for the Microsoft Event Builder to produce that, but please look forward to the Yammer page. We'll post everything that you have to repurpose and reuse and getting started.
Mm-hmm. I like this feedback.
Yeah.
This is my favorite part of the call, when we actually get to talk to people. We are real people talking to you.
Yep. And in the Q&A manager, I just posted out, I know that Nelson asked for access to the Yammer page if you're not already a member or you want to have access to it. Again, there's I think a treasure trove of questions and answers and resources from such a strong community. So I just posted that in the manager. Let's see, we got another question pending here.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't see it. Maybe it's gone. Okay, so Jack has asked, the conversation here Greg, was mainly oriented towards human-facing bots. Could you share anything about the machine-facing bots, say with IoT? Is that something you're comfortable with, or should we?
Yeah, no, I could. Okay. We could follow up with more information on it later as well, but scenarios that I've seen with IoT-facing bots, I guess from an Azure perspective, thinking about stuff like, predictive maintenance, or even maybe IoT solutions built on top of Dynamics. A good bot scenario there would be, a simple bot where you could check in and maybe ask questions on maintenance health, expected lifespan of different components in IoT scenarios. So again, predictive maintenance is the scenario I'm talking about here. But really, I think there's just more of a QA side, using the bot as a way for you to get information faster, like as opposed to going into some website or some portal to find your resource health information. Using a bot as a conversation agent to deliver that information to you, and yes, completely applicable to IoT. This framework, the bot framework, is applicable to almost any scenario. And from an IoT perspective, yes, we have support for IoT and Dynamics, and because of some of our Azure IoT services, which is where I started off the conversation, we've opened up those services so that they're able to communicate with and talk to the bot framework in Dynamics 365, so information is shared there. So yes, IoT scenarios are totally possible.
Great stuff. Anyone else have questions? I know we're certainly have some more time together, but as we all are presenters in our trade, if we're done, we don't need to extend it and certainly give you guys back time to perform the rest of your day. So thank you all so much for the commitment to our channel, to your practice, to learning more about bots, and going again beyond just what you've seen in the traditional demos. I think Greg gave us two great examples of tools to get started with, along with a number of links that will help you in terms of self-study. But if you have any questions, reach out to us. Let's use the Yammer page as a way, and you can certainly tag us if you want our attention. But I want to say thank you all to your time, and have a great rest of your day. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.